Welcome back to The Ether, the show that disrupts the way you think about running your business. Join me, Brandon, and my co-host, Sean Delaney, the creator of What If, on today's episode. Our goal is to provide context around what we talk about so you have the clarity to cut through the noise and the confidence to grow and run a truly harmonious business. Let's jump in and take the next step to achieving business freedom. Hey, welcome into another episode of The Ether. Guess what? Surprises happen in business. It's just me. It's a solo episode. Brandon here, your host for today's episode. If you are watching the live stream, we were supposed to talk about the Boeing collapse, firing of their CEO, or him stepping down, and what that could look like in terms of saving your business if your small business is in a similar situation, if there's chaos going on, if there's just constant turmoil, if things are falling apart, you're losing customers, and you're losing trust from the marketplace. Well, we're going to pause that for the next episode of The Ether. This episode, though, since it is a solo episode, I want to talk about wrapping up a quarter. Whenever you're listening to this, at this present moment, if you're watching live again, it is the end of Q1, so we're planning for Q2. We have touched on this podcast a couple of times, how you do strategic planning, and I want you to take a look at this through the lens of Sean, my co-host, my business partner. He's been a consultant, a fractional COO for the Fortune 100, the biggest companies in the world, for over 2.5 decades. The way he thinks about this stuff and brings it down to small businesses and makes it digestible and achievable is actually going to blow your mind. Most small businesses, when we talk about strategic planning, there's this big hang up because they don't really know what that means. They think it's just putting goals on a piece of paper and hoping you achieve them. Well, I want to break this down a little bit today, and we can go deeper if you want on a later episode. Put it in the comments or put it in the chat if you are watching live, what you want to know more of in terms of strategic planning. But I want to break down the process that we have been going through this week, and we're not fully done, but we're almost there. We're setting up our Q2, and this is what I think all small businesses should be doing in terms of strategic planning at the end of the quarter. Don't wait for the end of the year. Make sure you interrupt that year and you get ahead of where you're going to be. So here's a good analogy before we dive in. If you are to fly a plane, ironically, we were supposed to talk about Boeing today. No, but we're not. So if you were going to fly a plane from New York to Los Angeles, if that plane was off by just 1 degree, you would end up on the other side of the country. You would end up in potentially Washington State versus Los Angeles. Or if you go further south, you'd end up somewhere in Mexico. The point of the story is being off by just a little bit over a long period of time can actually add up to be a massive miss. So when you think about strategic planning for the year, if you don't stop and evaluate where you are along your journey, you may end up completely off course. So that's why we always advise, it comes from the model of the 12-week year. If you've read the book, if you've heard of the book, concept is simple. We've tweaked it a little bit for us and our clients, but you have a 12-week sprint, you evaluate in the 13th week. That is a quarter in business. And then you do that again and again and again. So what did we do? If you go back to the end of last year, we had set up our 3 projects. We work with 3 projects. Those are that's our main focus for the quarter. And what we do is underneath those 3 projects, we set up 3 primary activities. Now, depending on the size of your company, whoever's involved in those projects, each role would have 3 primary activities to make sure that that project becomes not possible, but inevitable. That's what we want. We want to make sure that our results become inevitable instead of just hoping we achieve them. Hope is not a strategy in business. We need to have as close to concrete promised results as possible. And that's why we use this method, because we pretty much get there. So Q1, let's just take a look at what that looks like in the beginning of the year. Beginning of the year is a little bit longer of a planning session than the quarterly ones, like we're discussing right now, but it still applies. The same principle still applies. So what you're going to do if you've never done this before is, first and foremost, set up a 5-year vision. You have to have a 5-year vision with metrics, because that is what we're chasing over a long period of time. That's the other kind of caveat that I'll put in place here is you shouldn't just plan 3 quarters at a time. You need to be going to Los Angeles from New York. You can't just plan every single rest stop and hope you get to wherever you're going to go. That's just as foolish as not checking in. So you want to have a 5-year vision. You want to have it very clearly laid out of where you want your company to be in 5 years. We can change that vision and tweak it along the way, but we need to have a bigger goal that we're chasing. So we have that. We're going to establish that and make sure it's in place. You also want to have a very clearly defined mission for your company and core values. We'll build on that later in the planning process. But to start, you need to have those 3 things. If you have those in place, awesome. We're going to move to step 2. Step 2 is establishing your 3 projects. So how do we do this? Well, we ate our own dog food, so to speak. I'm going to put this on the screen here. We have talked about it on this show before, but we took the BAD. The BAD is it's called the Business Architecture Diagnostic. That's what BAD stands for. It's at whatif.com. You can go take it too. It's absolutely free. And what it reveals is your business's score in the 10 fundamental areas of business that we have established as present in all businesses, no matter the size, scale, industry, revenue, number of employees, doesn't matter. You have these 10 disciplines in place in your company. It's just a matter of whether you recognize that or not and how much you leverage the links between the disciplines. So that's what we did. We sat down, we took the BAD, we went through it. It's 50 questions, took us 10, 15 minutes. We spent a little bit more time on it, to be honest with you. It usually takes 8 minutes, took us about 15 to get through the whole thing because we wanted to be really, really sure we were answering the questions correctly because that spit out the 3 projects that we needed to focus on for this next quarter. So we looked at the BAD based on where we were the last time we did it in the beginning of the year and now updating it in heading into Q2. And we said, all right, let's be really, really honest with ourselves. What is the status of our company at the present moment? And what we found out was our projects from Q1 actually got us way further ahead than we expected them to. And that's kind of what I was talking about before, but from making your goals possible to inevitable. Full disclosure, we didn't do a fantastic job of planning in Q1 because we had a lot of moving parts. We were totally changing our product structure. So we had a lot of guesses, to be honest with you. And we were surprised by just the amount of focus and determination we brought into Q1 based on the BAD results. We were able to take that and really make a difference in Q1 for our scores. So the one score we were focused on in particular was ubiquity. Ubiquity for us is our word for sales and marketing. It's how you get in front of your ideal client everywhere they expect you to be and be a commanding force in the marketplace, an authority figure, if you will. We did things like put together this podcast. This actually started before Q1. We had another podcast that we started before Q1, but we leaned in and we got on other podcasts. We did a number of things that just to really increase our ubiquity score. And the amount of improvement that we saw in just 3 months, in 12 weeks, was insane. The results for those scores were for us actually surprised even ourselves in a good way. It's always good when you surprise yourself with what you teach, right? When it works even better than you expect it to. But that's why we're very, very clear here at What If. We don't make massive promises. We don't say you're going to 10x or 11x your business. We make very realistic promises. And then when we meet or exceed those promises, it's kind of expected. I mean, it's not cool and shiny and flashy because we pretty much know we're going to achieve the result. And when we're working with our clients, we know so much that we offer a 100% money back guarantee on every service that we provide because we are that confident. If we were to make those big claims like 10, 11xing your business, there's no way we could offer guarantees on our services because it's just not possible 100% of the time. So what we want to do is make sure that your business goals are inevitable at the end of 12 weeks. And that's what we did through this process. So for us, we worked a lot on developing our products. That was one of our projects. We worked a lot on our ubiquity score. That was actually two different projects. And that's how we were able to increase our scores and see a really big difference in our company in just a short period of time. So we sat down, we took the BAD again, and we went through and we said, okay, now we need to focus in a little bit more, a little bit different of a way, still on ubiquity. It's still a focus for us, getting the word out about our new products, how we can help and serve clients in a much better, more efficient way. and who we're partnering with. Strategic partnerships is a really big focus for us. So in Q1, our focus was get loud. That's what we named our project, to get out in front of the marketplace, in front of our ideal clients, and communicate effectively with them. Now our focus is to hone that in. Now that we know who our ideal clients are, we want to get super focused. So I'm being fully transparent here. And we have the man, the myth, the legend who just hopped on. So let me add him to the screen here and then we'll keep going. Sean, welcome.
What are we doing?
We interrupted the schedule. So we were supposed to talk about Boeing. Again, if you're watching live, you know where we are. Let's catch Sean up to speed. We were supposed to talk about Boeing. I wanted the perspective of the Fortune 500 COO who's been there, done that, and seen all of it. And I didn't want to do without you. So I called an audible. I called timeout. And I said, what we're going to do is talk about how we've been strategic planning since it's the end of the quarter. And we're going to postpone Boeing to next time.
Sure.
How's that sound?
Great.
Fantastic. So you're jumping in a little late here, but I was just about to dive into what?
Pretend I'm not here.
Pretend you're not here. No, I was about to jump into the WOW format. So just I was analyzing where we've been Q1 and then how we sat down and we just reviewed our numbers. We took our bad. That's why the link is on the screen to actually plan out our Q2 personally. We eat our own dog food. And I was going to dive into the WOW format, what that means, what the acronym is, how to use that real quick, and then wrap this bad boy up. So I want to hear from you. When did you first start using this WOW format? But before that, what can you define what that acronym means?
So it's just a super simple post-mortem, as we used to call them back in the 90s. It's an after-action review kind of thing. And it's just, what are the wins? Because we have to celebrate those. What are the opportunities? Meaning, where did we screw it up? Where could we have done better on the execution of the project? Not necessarily in the outcomes that come from it. So we're not validating, hey, we had a project to create a new process. We created the new process and the process isn't so great. That comes later and that's a different analytic. We're just talking about in executing on this project, what were the wins? What are the opportunities to do something differently? And then what next? So are we normalizing it? So now this thing that we just changed in the world with this project becomes business as usual. Was it a once and done and there is no need for this again? Or do we have to do something else? But we're first going to put a stake in the ground to say, in the sprint that we were in Q1, we were trying to achieve X. We either did or X minus or X plus. We hit the goal. And then now what next? And if it's, let's say for us, ubiquity, we had some ubiquity projects that we were doing around our marketing and our messaging. We need to do more of that. So on the stuff that it is, well, now we have a process for this particular thing and it's just rinse and repeat. That's not a project anymore. That just goes in our business as usual. It's scheduled on our calendars. We know what we're doing. But if we say there's a continuation of the effort because there's further to go on a particular thing, then it's a new project launch, I guess is what I'm saying. We don't want to have perennial projects. So one of your opportunities could be, we thought it would take us a quarter and it didn't. It's going to take us, we're going to run over by a month. Okay. So let's just say that project then didn't meet the mark. And now we're going to have a project to get it with the rest of the way over the finish line. And why do we do it that way? Because it reinvigorates the team. It's an opportunity, it's a large team, of offboarding some people. Like, that's so great, Jerry, that you were here for the Q1 sprint on that. But Brandon's going to take it from here on a new project. See, we're making a new team. I'm not kicking you off the team, Jerry. You were here for us, Jerry. Oh my God, this was a drag. This guy was a drag the entire time. Jerry, we'll see you on the next project. Sure. No, not this one, because Brandon's going to do this one. But the next one, yeah, we'll see you there, Jerry. Okay. We celebrate the wins. We get a new team. We're newly energized. Or it could all be the same people. But I just find that when you're level setting in that way, saying the project is over, we didn't hit it. One, people knowing that's coming, and they have to do a wow review and admit we didn't get there, and now we have to launch an entirely new project. You'd be surprised how the work accelerates versus the teams that know, please, 1 month, 8 months. Does any project ever get finished around here? I swear we have meetings about the meetings just to hear. I said, do you get paid by the word? I see a lot of executives just talky and not doing anything. Right? So we know those projects will happen that way. And then people start to hate them, and then nobody wants to be on a project team. We've certainly seen that in corporate America plenty. People are like, oh, don't get picked for a project. It's just more work, no glory. Nothing ever works anyway. And you just get mad at everybody else because it takes too long and it's overburdened. We're not doing that.
And projects in that scenario start to look like business as usual. Because if there's no deadlines, if there's no measurements, it's just we're doing more stuff.
And because of the way we do projects as very focused, short-term, intentional application and allocation of our resources, it just puts a sharper point on the pencil. Then it just keeps you in the game better. So, but if we just left it with this is the way we do projects and there was no closeout, then you run the risk of things becoming perennial projects, running over. You don't get better at anything because you're never looking at your opportunities and how you execute better. And so then there's no continuous improvement cycle in your business from the very point of when we're doing project inception. You already don't have it. Even though you could say, oh, we love quality and iterative improvement all the time. Boeing, quality control. Apparently not, because turns out parts of these planes are now optional. I thought doors were standard. No, they can. We have open air. Would you like to dine? We have open air dining on this flight.
Open air flying. Bring your parachutes. Hey, it's a marketing opportunity, right?
Yeah. I like that wind blown feeling.
It's convertible. Convertible planes. It's new. It's all the rage these days. Yeah. Anyway, okay. So Boeing is next episode. We will get there. We're gonna dive in. But for this one,
wow. So I've been using it forever because I like it's simple. You can remember it. It sounds better than a post-mortem. It's like,
and technically a post-mortem is after something. The usual context is after something collapses or fails.
Yeah.
So we're not doing that. We're not failing as a company. We're just closing a quarter out. So yes, we're wowing. We're gonna go over the wins. We both found out that we suck at that. And we assume that most entrepreneurs do, because high achievers, go-getters, whatever you want to call yourself, most times we look at what could be done better and we don't celebrate enough what was done well. So that's why it's first. And yeah, we did have to force ourselves to do. We had to go through, I think, 3 times before we finally gave ourselves credit for all the good stuff that had come out of those projects. But we didn't leave it because it's like, yeah, move on. We have so many things we want to, because yes, that is our mode. That's how you and I are both hardwired. And knowing that, we also have to be cognizant of the fact that we don't let each other get in that kind of death spiral to the bottom of saying, nothing, everywhere I look, something's it's all broken.
But that's the way to be. I'll put on some magnificently detailed, delightful, magical party for my kids for their birthday or something. And then afterwards, I'm sitting there and my wife's like, what's wrong? And I'm like, can't believe that candle thing didn't work. Oh, fine. And nobody really, I'm like, yeah, but still, it's just like, but there are 900 great things. Yeah, but that candle trick should have worked. Whatever. You know what I'm saying?
It's our nature as entrepreneurs, as business owners. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just, celebrate the win, celebrate the small stuff, because that'll add up to big stuff eventually. So that's the first phase 1, if you will, of a quarter wrap up, is the wow. We go through that process, do it for your projects, if you had projects or not. you will for Q2 if you follow this model, but see what you did well, what were the opportunities, and then what next. So
And if you say
phase 2,
it's
though,
very, very easy, it's too simple. Well, it's that simple for a reason. It's the 20% of the effort that's going to get you 80% of the lift. If you're just doing that and getting the habit of it, you can get very complex, depending on the size of the project. You can get as complex in your after action reporting as you want, but not necessary for most of us. Let's just build that muscle by doing this.
The Fortune 500 needs that. Most small businesses don't. Yeah, let's get into the habit. So phase 1 is a review. Then we're talking about what's next. So real quick, and then we're going to get out of here, is planning or picking your 3 projects for Q2. So I said before you got here, Sean, we took the bad.
Yes.
We ate our own dog food, and we decided on the 3 areas we needed to focus on for our project. So for someone who's doing this maybe for the first time, or maybe you did have projects before, what we're going to say to you is take a stab at this. I would love for you to do it, but I'm just going to offer this. We'll give you a free review of your numbers. So I'll put it back on the screen. If you take the bad, it'll take you 10 minutes. Go to whatif.com and take it. You get the opportunity to schedule with us. It's not a sales pitch. It's how do you pick 3 projects that are going to get you on track to actually make a difference in your company. Most people, and Sean, I'm sure you have stories on this, just pick arbitrary goals, but they're not really tied to moving the needle in their business. So this gets you hyper focused on actually changing your company. We could go into this all day long, but moral of the story is at least take that and see where the holes in your bucket are in your company.
It's like saying, it's the difference between saying, well, I want to get healthier, and then you're just doing a bunch of unrelated healthy activities to just kind of bring health in, as opposed to, I know the metrics I need to move, and so I am going to take targeted action to change my triglycerides. So the more dialed in you get, now you could imagine how the activities for that line up in my mind a lot easier as to what I'm going to be doing and what resources I need for it, because I'm that focused on an outcome. And so the bad tells you, these are the numbers. This is your cholesterol levels and your blood pressure and your oxygen level in your blood. This is all the things. This is the diagnostic. It's called that for a reason, right?
Fun fact, this is how in sync me and Sean are. Did not tell him this before he said that. That happened to me yesterday. I had tried a new diet for the last 4 or 5 months.
Yeah.
I went to the doctor last week. I have elevated triglycerides and low good cholesterol. So
Yeah.
but I didn't know that until I got my blood work back. And now I know specifically what to do. Guessing and stabbing at the air is going to get you nowhere. Take the diagnostic, do your company blood work, and we'll see you on the other side. What else you got for us, Sean?
That's it.
There's nothing else we need to say.
Go take that. And if you're a solopreneur, take it, please, and then talk to us and we'll help you interpret the numbers. If you have a team, have them take it too. Discuss the numbers together, because you can find some hidden gems in there. You're the only one in the room thinking your company's getting an 8 and everyone else says it's a 2. You can have some interesting conversation.
Those will be fun. We'll help you with those too. All right, we'll see you next week.